Thursday, January 5th, 2023. This is our last podcast. I am your host, Josh Grossman. With me, as always, Jeff Hahn, Landon Rush, and this is Fantasy Inception. Boys, how are you guys doing?
Good. I'm ready for 2023 fantasy football.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask if you're ready for a break.
Always. I can use a long nap.
Well,
ready for no fantasy football?
Dynasty, buddy. Dynasty. It never ends.
It has been a lifetime struggle, a never-ending fight.
I see that from tonight. Jesus.
It's been a couple weeks, so we will recap the last couple weeks. We're gonna talk about this shit show that was the championship. We'll talk to Landon to get the commission's what he was thinking throughout this whole thing. Then we're gonna do sort of a recap of biggest disappointments, lessons learned. What else did I say we were gonna do? And then some predictions to round it out. So let's just. I don't need to share a screen. 2 weeks ago in the semifinals, I beat Chris 115-105. Him not having Kyler pretty much crushed him. And Bryden crushed Matt 120-81. And then we had the championship.
81 points.
Then we had the championship, myself against Bryden. Going into Monday night, I had 0 players left and a score of 122.38. And Bryden had, don't know if this score that I'm looking at right now includes his points. Bryden had like 89 points with a predicted score of 120, I think like half a point more than me. And then by the end, when they postponed the game, I had a projected score of maybe a half a point ahead of him. And then Kamish, walk us through. Let's hear. What were you thinking during this whole thing? What were you looking? Were you looking for different options, or what were you thinking? How this was going to play out?
Yeah, I mean, I thought there'd be no way that they wouldn't play this game. I mean, not that night, but eventually. I thought it would be later in the week, like maybe tonight or something like that. So I really wasn't
thinking about
it that much, and especially I'm not in it, so I don't really care that much. But yeah, I mean, then kind of just checking the Twitter feeds, trying to find out some information on it, and then it just came out now that they're not playing that game. So luckily, Grossman and Bryden have come to an agreement. I'll let Grossman announce that.
Tie for first, split the pot. Bryden, well, I think all of us are trying to figure out a way for Yahoo to show, both of us, because currently it just shows me as the winner.
I'm wondering if I could possibly change and edit the score so it's like a tie, possibly, would be my...
So I've tied in the championship, and it goes to a tiebreaker. I know that because I tied in a different championship and lost. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
What's the tiebreaker?
I think it's like either overall record or like what your like points scored, something like that. But since Bryden is new, if you can change who shows up as the winner, feel free to put him as first.
Aw.
Yeah. I have. We need to keep our 10th person.
Yeah. We can't be inviting more people. They always win.
Obviously, this is
true.
Beyond horrible what happened to the guy, but like to have this happen in like the championship game for fantasy, and then just you got to imagine how much money is on the line in that game. Just absolutely nuts to think about that stuff.
Well, my favorite part, not favorite, but the fact that they tried giving each team 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they were and you see like Diggs trying to hype up the team, which I don't fault him for doing that. I thought that was, I think they just didn't think about what they were doing when they gave that 5 minutes. So, anyways, so I won, Bryden lost.
Congrats, Grossman.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Quite a turnaround you had there.
What is this, number 4?
Number 4.
Yeah, very nice.
I've just turned every single one of my championships.
Shared, it's more like 3.5, but
for you? Oh, for me, 3.5. That's still more than you, buddy.
It is.
You have like 9 second places though. I have I have
6.
0. But it's funny. Every time I'm in the championship, I never felt like I had the best team. So I feel like next year I'm just gonna half-ass the draft and keep it
Yeah,
going.
I don't know if you guys saw my team just going bananas the last 2
Oh, I
weeks.
was
If I
gonna
had
ask
made the
you.
playoffs, I would
I
have
was
just
gonna
gone.
ask you.
It would have been the best 3-week run of my team's entire season.
Yep.
Would have just absolutely just ran away with another victory.
You had the high score
Unbelievable.
of all of the teams playing, both playoff teams and non-playoffs, for the championship week, the semifinals, and I think maybe the last week of the
I'm
season.
pretty sure for the last week too. Yeah, I had that Mike Evans game. Just
I
going
saw
nuts.
that and I was like, Jeff is just fuming
I was-
because your standings was you were 7-8, right?
Yeah, I was
And
one.
I got in with
one
the
win.
first
I was one
seed.
win from getting into the last spot of the playoffs.
Right. Tied with a bunch of people, but yeah.
I would have won
in
somehow. It doesn't matter.
yeah, but I saw that. I was like, he's fuming. In Dynasty, we had a good matchup. For the semifinals, we had, I'm trying to remember, Landon, you lost to Bino. And then...
No shock there.
No. But the fact that you made it to that second round is pretty impressive. And then Cheelan got his ass handed to him by Elliot's The Jewish Dicka in the finals. Going into Monday night, it was Bino by either way. Projected Dave was going to win, but 215 to 195. But Elliot had Burrow, and Dave had Diggs and Higgins. So by the end of Monday, it was 175, 165. Dave, I immediately started talking to them about it, and they came back and agreed to Dave is the first place winner, which I think would have been the result in the end, but it was close enough that I could see Elliot, disputing it. And then Elliot's going to take a slightly higher percent of a payout than the normal 15%, I think it is, that goes to second. So I thought they did a nice job figuring out how to solve that issue as well. But yeah,
Way to go,
Dave,
guys.
congratulations on winning the first year of Dynasty. All right,
He's
let's
good,
talk.
man. He's a good fantasy footballer, huh?
Yeah,
We gotta get him on and talk
he,
some ball. He knows his stuff apparently.
he does. We need his secrets.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I want to talk biggest disappointments of the year. Give me one or two guys. Doesn't have to be from your team who just flopped this year, and then tell me whether or not you think this is sort of the trend, the path they're going. They're not going to be who we thought they were, or is this just a blip? Jeff, do you want to start us off?
I have two. I had a backup just in case Landon and I had the same guy. So Landon, why don't you give me your guy?
I have two as well.
So why don't you give each of us? I have a few for the same reason. Each of us go one, and then we'll go a second if we feel like it. Landon,
Yeah.
give it. Jeff, go first with one.
All right, first one I had on my list was Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, not on my list.
Not on my
No.
What?
Not on your list, really? Okay. Well, I mean, total spent most in the entire league for our auction league, $64. Finished running back 32 with only a total of 4 touchdowns this season. That's pretty disappointing when you think that he was the overall number 1 draft pick. You want a little bit more production out of him than to finish 32nd in the league. So going in the next season, Indy is certainly going to make another move at quarterback. Who that is, we'll see. But
Derek
they
Carr.
need somebody that can at least. It could be Derek Carr, and he would be a good fit in my opinion. But there's somebody else I kind of prefer a little bit more than him. But
Rookie?
yeah, that could be it too. But we need somebody that can really stretch the field and stop having these teams stack the box. And they have one of the best offensive lines in the game. So, I mean, as long as they can keep the defense honest, I believe that he has a bounce back season. But I look for him to be a value going in the next season, somewhere averaging around the $40 value. And the reason I got to that is because if you look at this year, players like Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Javonte Williams went all right around $40 in our auction league.
Okay. I think people are going to chalk this year up to injury, and I don't know that we'll get the discount. but it's hard to tell. And there's so much movement with running backs. Lennon, who is your first big disappointment?
I went with Kyle Pitts.
Adam.
Okay, take that on the list.
He was drafted as the tight end 3 with the possibility of being the overall tight end 1, taken away from Kelsey and Andrews. But he finished as the tight end 32 on the year. And even when he was healthy, he was really nothing more than a tight end 2. He only played in 11 games, but he scored only 2 touchdowns, only had 2 games in double-digit fantasy points. And Grossman had him, so maybe you can attest to this. It was probably a relief when he got hurt, so you don't have to – those managers that had him kind of were stuck playing him. You didn't want to necessarily sit him down and watch him because he had that ability to have big games, which never really happened this year, but you don't want to see that on your bench, so you were stuck playing him. I think it was a blip on the radar. I think a lot of it had to do with the QB situation with Mariota being there. I don't know how much it's going to improve next year. Ritter seems to be better than Mariota, and he'll improve in his second year, you would think. But I didn't see how much he went for this year. I should have looked. 25.
Yeah, 25. That's right.
So, yeah, I think you will get a discount on him next year. I think he'll probably go around the $15 to $20 range. Maybe, 15, maybe, I would say.
That. I mean, you got to think of Atlanta. That's a team that just wants to run the ball, and they want to run and run and run. So I don't see this guy eclipsing $12 in an auction league.
What about if Carr gets traded to Atlanta? Because I don't think Ritter's going to be the starter come next year.
Yeah, I think that he's really going to become more of a game manager Carr at that point. Let's try to keep turnovers in check.
So you don't think Pitts gets a little bit more hype and goes closer to the 25 we went for this year?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be above 20. I think it would be maybe at most 18. I think there would be some excitement. It would be like that Russell Wilson excitement, right? Like of going to Denver. Everybody's excited for Judy and Sutton. This is going to be just a dynamic team offensively, and then we see it play out. They continue to be.
Yep. That is my that's my biggest disappointment of the year. Russell Wilson. I had him in way too many other leagues. What I don't know, and I'm curious for your opinions, is whether this was a blip. He's older. He didn't run nearly as much. He looked a little lost, but at the same time, the coach got fired. The first-year coach got fired because of how bad the play calling
sucks.
I mean, he was terrible.
Horrible.
The play calling was terrible. It's a brand new system. He went into Denver with like 9 receivers that all were talented, and even before the season started, he was down to basically Sutton and Judy. Both of those guys got injured off and on. And then Javonte was injured pretty quickly, but he also looked bad. So do you guys think this is I don't know that he ever returns to Seattle, Russell Wilson, but do you guys think next year he's going to end up being a guy we say led people to a championship because you got him for $1 and he ended up being maybe not a stud, but a QB2 type thing, or no?
I don't see it.
I lean more towards yes than no. I don't, being in this, I don't know how long he was with Seattle for his entire career. I don't know how many years that was, but just to switch over is not the easiest thing to do. I mean, Brady struggled in his first few games with the Bucs, or first half of the season, or whatever it was in the first year. Maybe not half, but maybe a quarter, but whatever. But I just don't think that someone of his caliber can have that big of a just completely drop off. I don't see how that's possible. So I'm guessing he's got to get significantly better next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, not confident at all. The only reason that I tend to agree with you is because what we've seen with QBs is the drop-off comes from their inability to throw the ball. Peyton Manning just could not throw beyond 5 yards. Tom Brady continues to be able to throw, which I think means he's eating babies and he's going to be around forever. Russell Wilson still has the arm strength. He just had really bad decision making, and combined with everything else. So we'll see. Jeff, who's your second disappointment? Let's go one.
Yeah,
more.
I mean, so this one you got to chalk up a little bit to injury, but given the price that was spent on him, it was a disappointment. Given maybe the hype coming in the season around Allen Robinson.
That was on my
right?
list.
And it was just a guy that, everybody kind of thought was going to be just 1B to the 1A of Cooper Kupp, and going to have Stafford back there just chucking the rock there. Rams going to be putting up, 50 points a game or whatever, and Cooper Kupp's going to have 2 touchdowns a game. Allen Robinson will have 1 or whatever, But I'm just saying, you just saw uber production coming from this team, and it just never came to fruition. The only good game I think they had was week 2, maybe week 3, something like that. They were clearly forcing him the ball, and so this is just not a good fit. I don't think it's Allen Robinson. I mean, aside from the injury, I think he can still play ball. I mean, he was pretty outstanding when he didn't have anybody throwing him the ball. Stafford was supposed to be the best QB that he ever really got to play with. So, it doesn't appear to be a good fit for him.
And he's signed for 1 more year there?
I believe so.
Okay.
Let's double check that though. Go
Let's
Len, who's your number? Your second
I went with DeAndre Swift.
Mm-hmm.
He was drafted as the RB9, and there was a lot of talk that he could possibly be the overall RB1. But he finished as the RB25 this year. A part of it was missing 3 games due to injury, but a huge part of it, bigger part of it, was Jamal Williams just – what's that? One more year? Got it.
Yeah.
The big part of DeAndre Swift's downfall was Jamal Williams just being a touchdown machine, scoring 15 freaking touchdowns this year. Swift had 6 games under 10 points. They just don't seem to trust him as that workhorse RB, and I don't think – what's that?
Said this year. Last year, he was a check down Charlie, man. He was getting 10 receptions a game, just like they were just dumping it down to him, like boom.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was more injured than was let on, but I don't know. I think he was a pretty big disappointment, and I see him probably going around the $25 mark or so next year would be my guess.
Interesting.
I'd buy him for that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he's interesting because he's super talented.
And he doesn't need much. He's very Alvin Kamara-like.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
Just get the rock in his hand in space.
For the middle part of the season, I thought maybe they were just why risk the injury because they were out of it. But then they started coming back into the playoff picture, and they still were giving him 6 carries and 2 targets, and who knows? It's very strange. My second disappointment is a rookie, Sky Moore. I think everyone thought
Geoff boy.
That's my guy.
Well, you're not the only one.
He came on strong towards the end of the year, you got to admit.
Towards the end?
Strong in what way?
He had a game there where he had 6 targets, 8 targets. I think.
I don't know that he did. Yes. I think everybody. He's the type of player that it felt like it was a wait until the bye week. A lot of the rookie receivers after that bye week, and they've had a long time to practice and get used to the team, and the team figured out how to use him. He's going to figure it out. They just never. I don't know if it's they didn't utilize him the way that he needed to be utilized, or they just thought very little of him, and he didn't get open, and they just. I mean, he did not get a lot of targets at all, and he got enough playing time that he should have gotten more targets if he was getting open and deserving that ball. So I think he's going to be a bust from here on out. You don't really see rookies very often pop for the very first time in their second year. A lot of receivers end up having the Amon sort of not crazy like that, but the the end of the season sort of breakout where you see the talent, and then the next year they really pop. And Sky Moore has just not shown it. So I do not think I think he's $1 next year, and I'd be surprised if he's, their fourth receiver on the team. So
It's interesting with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I mean, it was Kelsey and then everybody else. So it's how many more years does Kelsey have? I don't know, a couple at least, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, just none of those receivers. I mean, Juju had a couple good games, I guess, but he would just spread the ball
Mahomes
around.
had a great year though.
Mahomes had a great year, but yeah, I mean, it's Kelsey, and then it's just it's a coin flip. But Sky Moore never showed much.
Yeah, I had another guy on the list. I had one more guy on the list that I wanted to talk about. We didn't spend much in the auction for him. His value was $9, but a guy that was coming off a decent, successful season for the New York Jets. Any idea who I'm talking about?
Elijah Moore?
22. Yeah, and we expected big things from him in 23, and it just 21. He had a good season. 22, he did not.
Yeah.
So just never came to fruition for whatever reason. Well, Garrett Wilson was the reason.
But you could. I mean, teams when they had Zach Wilson, that's no one's gonna. I mean, he couldn't support one receiver, but teams can support two receivers. And I don't feel like he was ever, even when they had Flacco throwing it 50 times or whoever, Mike White. Yeah, he didn't really pop. Do you guys see that change? I mean, I don't know what the Jets are going to do with QB, but
they just said they're sticking with Zach Wilson, didn't they?
How that?
I think you got to give him.
Why wouldn't you give him another chance, right? And then
because he's terrible.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying when he blows it, like he's the scapegoat. Okay, like.
But they have so much talent. Like it feels like a waste of a year.
Make the playoffs. I think they've officially been eliminated.
No. I just mean next year.
Yeah, so you're gonna I'm not saying he's gonna start the season, but it's you might as well give him one last game. Hey, go out there, win one. Let's see what you can do. And when he blows it, you're just like, okay, this guy, you're just not good, kid.
I feel like Garoppolo is gonna end up going to the Jets or something.
God, I love that.
He's just a game manager, though. I want someone exciting.
I know he is. I love it, but
Garrett Wilson looks like
a good game manager. He's better than say like a Nick Foles game manager, or like or
that's
Alex, like
Nick Foles is a game mismanager.
Alex Smith, game manager, right?
Right.
It's better than that. We got like 37 touchdowns 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, I mean, all the guy does is win.
It's
He's
true.
won in both the regular season and the postseason. Like, I mean, this guy he's a gamer, and he had an apprenticeship under Tom Brady. I mean,
that's true. That's what you need. All right, let's move on. Next, I want to go over at least one. If you guys have more, that's great. Lesson learned, whether it's in terms of a draft strategy or throughout the season. What's one thing that you think you kind of learned that you want to remember going into next year? Landon, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I as far as drafting goes, I mean, I'm a horrible drafter, so what really the guys I want to focus when the draft comes next year, I want to really kind of focus on those, at least the running backs, the guys that are headed into free agency. It seems
contract
to be
guys?
Contract guys that are on the last year of their contract.
So who would that be next year, though?
they play hard, they play injured.
There's AJ Dillon. There's DeAndre Swift. Hint, hint. I forgot there was.
And you can get him for 25.
Yeah,
I'm paying 26.
But like this year, there was Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, and Miles Sanders were just 4 that I saw, and all those guys finished. They all finished in the top 10. I mean, I don't know if that's it's not a lock, obviously, but those guys.
There's also Montgomery
yeah, for this year.
So yeah.
I mean, he
Alexander Madison was another one.
You're just leaving out. You're leaving out the ones that didn't perform.
Well, Madison, he
didn't get any opportunity.
No different
yeah, I
than
mean,
Tony Pollard.
you got to look at the situation also, but
the same situation as Zeke and Pollard. Cooks and
Except they didn't.
No,
they
they
didn't
never played
care.
Madison.
I mean, he did not get any.
But yes, I'm sure there's others that I didn't point out that didn't fare as well. But at least maybe just kind of look at those guys and look at situations and draft accordingly.
Yeah, I like it. Jeff, what's your lesson learned?
Yeah, it's just stupid. Like, I just regret not handcuffing DeAndre Swift for Williams. Whether it
But you would have had to do that in the draft, right?
I know, but I could have traded probably for him as well.
I don't know. BJV doesn't look at his
Rannick.
team.
I realize
Yeah.
that, but I probably
He didn't
could
know
have
he
given
had
him a
him.
pretty sweet deal. I know, he
Yeah.
really didn't. So that's just one thing. I mean, I could have even targeted him in the draft. If I knew like this is gonna be like my 1A running back, and I had Javonte Williams at the same time too.
So then what would you have done? Would you have played both?
No, I just like half the season I would have been okay because DeAndre Swift was sitting out.
Yeah, but I feel like I've gone that route before, and like I've had Madison on years that Cook just maybe he gets injured, but it's week 14 before he gets injured, and you're like, I can't just waste this spot. Like that feels like a hindsight sort of. It crushes you when it hurts, but it's hard. It's really hard to waste.
It's really more for the injury prone guys, and Cooks is a good example of that for sure. Like he's a guy that has a tendency to get injured. Like I'm not backing up a Derrick Henry if he's my 1A, right? He's pretty solid. Maybe getting older,
and you don't know who the backup is. We talked about that.
Fragile. That's true too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's just one of those things that I know, and I maybe wish I would have paid a little bit more attention to it. As I look back at my team, I did actually have more injury-prone guys. Cooper Kupp, I mean, he was injured the season before that too. Than I would have liked to have had on my roster, but
yeah, but those are the guys that you end up getting value for, and
I didn't
injuries
really
are
value for those two guys. But anyways,
that's true.
that was one of my takeaways.
Okay.
I also think I'm going to go a little heavier on the QB strategy next year. See, I'm usually a wait, just see what's out there. I'll pick up the $1 guy at the end of the season, but I think I might be willing to spend about 5 to 7 on a QB next year.
I agree. I think the thing that makes that the reason for that though is because everybody in this damn league keeps 2 QBs.
Yeah, well,
it's a 10 team.
Well, you have to adjust.
I know I hate it, but I'm just saying I have to get one of those guys.
Are we going to make this super flex, Landon?
Stupid guy's bench.
Bueller.
Maybe.
Landon?
No.
There we go. That would change.
Doesn't change anything. Doesn't change anything for a decade.
He's all talk. My lesson learned, and it's one that I don't really know how to act on, is not to overreact. There's 2 things that I was thinking about for this. One is every year I try to think about what lessons did I learn that year, but every year is different than the year before. There's years where all of the running backs get injured and you say, okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of money on a running back. And then the next year there's nobody is injured and the running backs just have amazing years. So I'm just going to come out of this just basically ignoring what happened during the season. And then the other aspect of that is at the preseason during the first few games, training camp, there's so much hype. It's either negative hype, someone like Josh Jacobs, being played during whatever that first preseason game was when that's unnecessary, or the hype around guys like Sutton and Gabe Davis and Pittman and DJ Moore.
What a bust.
I know. And then it ends up every year making me overspend on those guys. And nobody knows what they're talking about.
So what are you going to, how do you, you're not going to go on Twitter, or you're not, if you.
No, I'm not, no. Well, I don't go on Twitter, but I'm not going
He's
to.
He's a Reddit guy.
I'm a Reddit guy. I think I've said it before. I am, I'm going to try to go into the draft focused on value rather than on kind of my guys. I went into our draft saying I'm either going to get CMC, or if I don't get CMC, I'm going to get Javonte and Swift, because I thought those 2 are going to destroy. And I'm so glad I got CMC because Javonte. I know. And that's exactly what I did in one of my other leagues, and it fucking sucked. So, and that's different. That's not hype necessarily, but like, I think I just need to go into the draft focused on value for dollars. I think that's what Chris and Bino did really, really well. They got so many good players, and they just happened, each of them had a few of them that ended up just popping. So I think that's the only way you can action on it.
Value is important, no doubt about it.
Yeah. All right. Next,
I went in the draft saying I'm either going to get Swift and Javonte Williams or Austin Eckler, and I went to Swift and Javonte.
Did you end up? Was it because Eckler went for too much, or was it that you got Swift and then Eckler went later?
Yeah, no, I got Swift, and then I was like, this is the route I'm going. So.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna do prediction. Obviously, we have no insight. We only pretend to be experts. But I'm gonna have a handful of questions about what you guys think will happen to different players and situations next year. The first one, we have an enormous number of running backs that are going to be free agents. Landon named a few that he wanted to use to support his argument earlier. So I'm going to give you guys a name. That's okay. I'm going to give you guys a name. You guys tell me if you think the player re-signs with their team or goes to a different team. And if they go to a different team and you have some feeling as to what team you think they go to or you'd like to see them in, you could name that as well. All running back free agents. Here we go. Barkley. Landon. Does he re-sign with the Giants?
I think he stays, yes.
Jeff.
Yeah, I think he's likely going to stay a New York Giant. Everything I've kind of seen or read so far is that they've had conversations. His camp with the Giants, they seem to be having very positive conversations. The only thing that means that he'll most likely get a deal between 12 and 14 million. That being said, if him and his camp does ask for more like that CMC $16 million deal, then he's likely going to be gone.
Yeah, I think
because the Giants have to support Daniel Jones and Barkley,
who's also a free agent.
If they decide that Daniel Jones is going to be their guy for the future, right?
Yep.
I think they are.
Yep, I think. I agree. I think he's more likely to stay, and they have the option of franchising him if they really wanted. Josh Jacobs, Jeff, does he stay or is he gone?
Yeah. So, do you want to give your entire list? Because it's really interesting. All these guys are unrestricted free agents. That I found is very interesting, right? So that basically means they can go out, they can explore the market, see what
he's offering. But then I'm going to come back to Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, no, I get
Jacobs, Sanders, Singletary, Montgomery, Pollard, and Madison are the ones. Yeah. I think there may have been a couple that I forgot, but I don't remember. That's the list that I.
If Jacobs does not re-sign with Vegas, they are clearly going to need an RB1, right? I mean, that offense needs to sustain a running back like Jacobs. So I do believe he's going to re-sign with Vegas, but there are 5 other teams that are going to potentially be looking for a replacement running back, and I think all the 5 of those teams could support a $12 to $14 million cap hit, which is what Jacobs will probably be the money that he'll be getting.
So you're right that all of these teams need to have an RB1, but we should also say that the rookies, the 2023 RB class is deep and elite. So if these teams wanted to save money and seeing how all of these teams, feel like their RBs are just replaceable to a certain extent, there's a ton of RBs that you can get in, day 2, even early day 3 to replace some of these guys. Landon, Josh Jacobs, does he stay or?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm out there trusting my franchise quarterback though with a rookie running back.
Who's Oakland's franchise quarterback?
I'm not saying Oakland's the
Vegas.
example, but there are other teams out there.
Vegas.
And it's my boy Jared Stidham.
There you go.
No, I understand though what you're saying. Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I think he stays with my boy Jared Stidham. So they're going to be a good combo for the next few years.
I don't know. I want to say he leads. I think he leads. I don't know which team though. Miles Sanders.
That's so lame. Where's he go? Where's his landing spot?
Kansas City. The problem is they can't afford him. They're over the cap by a lot.
Doesn't make any
but
sense.
I think How about this? Philly.
Okay.
He's a luxury. Josh Jacobs is a luxury to have, but he's a guy who destroys, and he destroys these teams who are playing the cover two that have the two safeties. He destroys those teams. So, and that might be the run scheme, but I think he's going to be he wants to be on a playoff team. Oakland sucks. Sorry, Vegas sucks. Miles Sanders, Landon. Does he stay with Philly?
I think he stays with Philly, yes. I don't
Jeff?
know contract issues or whatnot, but cap space and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
I think he
stays.
probably stays in Philly. I mean, kind of the same situation. I think he'll probably demand similar money to Josh Jacobs, and I think they'll look to keep him.
I think he's gone. Singletary.
Ooh.
Jeff.
I think he
Stay
stays
with
in Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
he's going to probably he's currently getting $2.5 million this past year. You know, he might get a little bit of a bump, but the Bills can certainly afford that.
Landon.
Yeah, I think he stays as well.
I think he's gone. David Montgomery. Chicago. Landon.
Well, I have Khalil Herbert in Dynasty, so I'm really hoping that Monty goes. So I'm going to say he goes.
Jeff.
I mean, so the Bears have the largest available cap space out
They
of
do.
all the NFL teams. So if they want to bring somebody in like a Jacobs or a Sanders or a Barkley, they certainly could. Out of all the teams, that would be interesting. But I think it's cheap for them to re-sign David Montgomery, and I think they look to do that. Like, and he's gonna probably get somewhere between $6 to $9 million.
Yeah, I think a lot of, especially the last three that Josh Jacobs and Barkley, I think are a tier of their own. I think the last three that we named are going to be asking for too much and aren't going to get it from these teams. Montgomery, I think he stays. Pollard, Jeff, does he stay with Dallas?
Yeah, definitely Dallas is going to re-sign Pollard, but I do think they release Elliott at that
Oh,
point.
wow.
Now, I do think Dallas has an affection for Zeke, but
They do.
I mean,
Give
that's
him
just
a lot
big
of
D
money.
in general. But I do believe that they just kind of let him go. I kind of foresee Zeke becoming a Raider because that seems to be where old washed-up people go. Is Vegas.
Oh.
I like it. I like the
It's going to
prediction.
be like super cheap for Dallas to sign. I mean, they have an $8 million cap. You know, Pollard. You know, I think he was making around $1 million this past year, a little less. So to sign
But he's
him,
going to want to get paid.
yeah. Well, $5 million to Pollard is probably a pretty good deal, right? On paper, $6.
For,
They have an $8
for
million
Pollard or
cap
for
Pollard.
yeah.
You
Do
know,
they
that's pretty-
save money by cutting Elliott?
I'm sure. I don't know. I mean, I have to look into that, but I'm sure they would. How could they not?
Well, sometimes the
There still would be
dead
a cap
cap is
hit. There sure would be a dead cap hit, but it wouldn't be,
Right.
the full amount of his contract.
yeah, that's kind of an important detail. Landon,
I'd say Pollard goes.
No.
any prediction on team?
No, I don't. Atlanta. I have no idea.
Very good stuff. Very,
Oh, I
very
like
good
it.
analysis.
All right, I think Pollard leaves and goes to.
I think Monty
Minnesota.
leaves. I changed my mind. I think, whoa, Matt, what about Cook?
Madison.
Cook's still there. Madison's going to be gone.
I think Monty leaves and Pollard comes to the Bears.
Oh, I like it. All right, last one. Madison. Cook's back up in minute.
He's gone.
He's like the cheapest
Agreed.
of all these options that we just gave.
He's
Why
going to
wouldn't they
be
just
super
sign him?
cheap.
Yeah, like why don't they just sign him to 1.5?
I think he's going to want to be the RB1 somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's not going.
Whenever he plays, he is good.
He also they run him into the ground, and it's only when Cook's injured. But I agree. I think he stays just because.
Now here's the interesting thing: the one team that we didn't talk about that clearly needs a running back is Carolina. Like that's probably the one team, and probably.
Oh yeah, I
Denver,
forgot.
too.
Deontay.
But Carolina has they
Deontay.
are very slim at
Last
the salary
year.
cap space, and Denver's another team that is probably looking to sign a running back. Vegas, the Giants, and Chicago are all possible teams. Philly as well. So we covered on a lot of them. I think a lot of them re-signed, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. All right, next I'm going to name a QB. either one who will be a free agent or one that is very much on the trade market, and I want the same thing. I will list all of them initially, and then we'll go back. Lamar, Carr, Garoppolo, Geno, Goff, Brady. We'll start with Lamar. He is a free agent after this year. Jeff, do you think he resigns or goes to a different team?
Yeah, I mean, this guy was clearly holding out this year, trying to get a guaranteed contract. But I do believe the Baltimore Ravens, surprisingly enough, as he's been injured, realize how much they actually need him back there to support their system. Without him, they went to 31st in the league for touchdown efficiency in the red zone. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that clearly means that, hey, we got to lock this guy up. And maybe he doesn't get as much guaranteed money because he did get injured this year a little bit too, right? Which he was trying to kind of sustain throughout injury and showcase, hey, I'm worth the guaranteed money. I can play. He didn't. So been out for a month now. So maybe they kind of meet in the middle a little bit. But I do think they resign.
Len?
I think he stays in Baltimore. Yeah, I think if Huntley had ended up doing well and the team succeeded without him, maybe it's a different story. But I agree with Geoff.
Yep. Agreed. Carr. Jeff, just kick us off again.
All right, man. Las Vegas, cutting Carr would free up about $29.3 million in cap space for next year. But however, they've only signed 31 players to date for next season. So, that's part of the reason why they might consider cutting him. If they are going to cut Carr, they have to make the decision before February 15th.
Oh.
The reason, so that's basically 2 or 3 days after the Super Bowl. The reason being is that if they don't, he's then going to be guaranteed $32.9 in his base salary for the 2023 season, plus another $7.5 million for the 2024 salary, right? So that's why they have to make that decision. They don't want to obviously have to pay that out, right? The Las Vegas cap would only increase by $5.6 million for 2023 if Carr gets cut. So they're only going to be carrying a $5 million cap in addition. And then the only thing about this, though, they could look for Carr to shop around, but Carr does have a no trade clause, a full no trade clause where he has final say as to where he can go. So that's a big part of that. So I think that they probably do look to cut him, and teams probably look to try to take advantage of him being a free agent.
Landon, agreed in terms of him leaving?
Yeah, I mean, they have a new franchise quarterback in Jarrett Stidham. So the writing seems to be pretty clear on the wall that Carr is out of there. So, yes, I think he goes. And I originally thought I had Indy, and you mentioned Atlanta. I had that as a possibility as well.
Jeff, is there a team that you'd like to see him on?
I do think that Indy is probably a good example of where he could land. But New Orleans would be another one, but he's probably too expensive for New Orleans. That would be an interesting one. They don't have much cap space. They actually have the league's worst. It's kind of surprising. Carolina maybe could be a place. The Rams could be a place if they're somehow able to get rid of
Stafford.
Stafford and now Baker, but
yep. I think he's gone. I didn't know any of that info about the money they save on cutting. So, it seems like a foregone conclusion, like you said. All right, Garoppolo. He will also be a free agent. Landon, we'll start with you. Is he with San Fran next year?
A surprising one? A surprising team.
Landon, we'll start with you. What?
Team where he could land, though, is Denver. They have the cap space to support it, which would just be
They just signed
I know, but it
Russell
would
Wilson
just
for the next decade.
Yeah, I realize, but I'm just saying they have the cap space to support it.
What are you talking about?
All right, Garoppolo. Landon.
Garoppolo, I believe, is gone with the emergence of Bryce Purdy. That's his name? Yeah, Bryce Purdy. Is that correct?
You don't think Lance Young gets another look?
Trey Young. Trey Lance.
Lance.
It's Brock Purdy. It's Brock Purdy.
combining.
Bryce.
Lance is definitely going to get it.
Bryce. Oh, yeah. It's just around to Bryce. I think Brock Purdy. Yeah, I think Garoppolo's gone. They have Purdy now. I think they give Trey Lance another shot. So, yeah, I think Garoppolo's gone.
Lance Young. So
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Jeff, is Garoppolo a 49er next year?
What do I have here? Probably going to stay in San Francisco. I mean, I guess unless something crazy happens to where Brock Purdy leads the 49ers to the Super Bowl. I mean, this is a system-based scheme. So, I mean, they look at themselves. They have luxury at the quarterback position. Maybe they look to try to acquire trade depth, some assets. But if nobody's willing to kind of trade up for their picks away for a quarterback, then I don't think he lands anywhere. An interesting landing spot, though, could be Vegas for him, given his connections with McDaniels when he was in New England.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I don't think he's there anymore. I think Lance gets another year, but they need to go back up. But like you said, it's a system.
And I think the Saints are probably the team that needs it the most. Like, they need him the most, but they don't have the cash.
They need something.
They do it. I don't know.
Gino, is he with Seattle come next year? Landon, we'll go with you again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Everyone wrote him off, but he didn't write back. So he's back.
Oh, I like that.
He said that.
I'm going to steal that.
No, he said that. Gino.
He said it first.
Well, I'm stealing it from Gino. All right, so we all agree he's going to be back. Goff, where's he going to be? Detroit?
Yeah, he's back.
Jeff? Brady. I think he's the last one.
Las Vegas. Sorry to burst that Stidham bubble, but this is the man that will end up back with Josh McDaniels pulling the strings now with Devontae Adams.
Oh, gross.
Oh, Landon?
No, I mean, Stidham is
Yeah, you just don't want to look. You have Stidham fever, buddy. You have like these Stidham blinders on.
Stidham he's the next Brady, so they don't need an old Brady. I think Brady stays one more year in Tampa.
Yeah, I think it's going to be based on how they do in the playoffs. But I'm going to stick with Brady in Tampa. And I say he's going to be in the NFL for at least 2 years.
He already knows the offense. He already knows the offense. It would be an easy transition.
It's warm.
Stidham's only
It's where old people go.
26.
Yeah.
All right,
You don't
last.
think he can benefit from learning from a guy like Brady?
He's been learning from Derek Carr. That's all you need.
Please.
All right, last
Learning
question
what not to do.
on
How not to be a
predictions.
winner.
Second-year receivers have been huge the last couple years. So I'm going to name 2 or 3 rookie receivers this year. Will be second year next year, and you guys tell me who you would want of the 2 or the 3, assuming the auction cost is the same, and hopefully it's not too obvious for these. All right, the first one: Garrett Wilson or Olave. Which one would you take?
Wilson.
And we don't know. Obviously, we don't know the quarterback situation for a lot of stuff.
Wilson. I think the quarterback situation in New Orleans is very suspect, so I'll take Wilson.
Glenn?
I'd be happy with either one, but I'll take Olave.
I will take Wilson, but I think whoever has the better QB ends up doing better. Trey Burke or Jameson Williams?
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Landon.
I
We're
went with
switching back and forth.
yeah, it's tough, but good questions from the host. I went with Trey Burke.
Any?
I mean, he's the number one guy there. I don't really, unless they draft someone else, which I'm sure they will, but he's just the number one there. Jameson still the clear number 2 behind Amon-Ra, so I'll just go with the number 1 guy.
Jeff, agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of mouths to feed in Detroit. I'm not sure necessarily if Goff can sustain that. Maybe at home games only. And we have quarterback questions in Tennessee. I guess I'd lean Williams.
Okay.
But if I wouldn't be surprised by any means if Burks comes out ahead there.
Yeah, agreed. I especially if Goff stays, I'd lean Williams, just because I do think Goff has a better chance of sustaining more than one receiver than a rookie QB. Last one. I thought I had 3, but maybe not. Pickens or Dotson? Who would you rather have? Same price come next year. Jeff.
So personally, I think Pickens has more talent, but Dotson appears to be the more serviceable quarterback at the moment, which means a lot. So I do believe that we're going to see Pickett longer. It's his first year as a rookie QB, right? So I do believe Pickens has a higher ceiling for the future.
Yeah.
And he's super talented. So I'll take the talent, just the cream to kind of rise to the top, but it might take
cream always rises.
Always.
So you're taking Pickens.
I like Pickens.
Landon.
I'll go Dotson. I think Dotson was a first-round pick, so he's got some cream in that coffee as well.
Who wants cream? Nobody? Okay, no cream.
No, let's not overlook his
Thick
talent.
cream.
And he also has a franchise quarterback coming in Sam Howell. So,
I was like, who?
who I'm just
Is this
loading
another
up.
player on your dynasty team?
It is. So, yeah, it's
What's Stidham?
Dotson's, I don't have the stat in front of me, but all he does is score touchdowns. So, I don't know. I'd go with the guy that's proven himself already.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jeff on this one. I think Pickens for those reasons. Guys, that is the end of our show, end of our season, Goodyear 2. This was a pleasure. Any final words for our audience?
Hey, thanks for tuning in all season long.
Like
really
and
appreciate
subscribe.
it. Make sure you like and subscribe. That's right.
Smash that button.
Yeah.
And we'll send out some emails about some. I'm sure we'll have some off-season dynasty podcasts.
Yep. That's
Maybe.
the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. All right.
Right.
Good luck, everybody.
Now you
Drink
see
that
us.
cream.
Now you don't.